High FM, 101.9 megahertz of life.
Now we are joined by, in brackets, Rabbi Warren Sher. Okay, the rabbi's in brackets. I mean, he's a rabbi, but I said to him before, do we go with Rabbi Warren Sher? Do we go with Rabbi Sher? Do we go with Warren? He says, nope, it's not Limmudi, so we go with Warren Sher. So Warren is in studio with us along with Kim Nates. And we wanted to talk about Limmud because it is coming up. We've been telling you about it. It is the end of August. I'm still blown away by the fact that there are 9 sessions an hour. I don't know if I have a brain and an Excel spreadsheet in my head enough to be able to even contemplate that. But really what that does is it talks to choices. And I found this so interesting because earlier this week we had that conversation with Professor Anton Harber where they're talking about an event coming up that and it's quite I'm not sure it's diverse, but it's certainly very alternate. But and we got into this discussion about hearing things that are just a little bit different to what we are used to, and Limmud is one of those places, and I don't mean at all comparable to that event, but it really, what Limmud has done over the years and continues to do, as far as I understand, and we're going to get those that actually understand it more, talk to it, is they've created diversity and different views, but within a framework. And that, to me, is quite exciting because rather them than me, I don't know how I would get to, how I would manage that, but it's got to be both invigorating, energizing, as well as challenging. Warren Sher, let's start with you as the chair, Johannesburg chair of Limmud. How difficult is it when you look at this, especially in 2026, when you look at what's out there and what is something that we want to offer people?
Yeah, Howard, it really is a challenge. One of the things we try and do is we try and make sure there's something for everybody at every time. And, you know, when we're sitting and planning the program, we sit and we each take different personas and we go, okay, I'm Warren Sher from Glen Hazel, where am I going to go? And then I am Anton from Parkview and I'm left wing, and do I have something that's offered for me? I'm Orthodox, I'm Reform. Is there a voice for everybody? And I think what we try and do is we try and create a place where everyone can come together and exchange ideas. We can argue respectfully, and we can feel like one community. And
how invigorating is that we can actually hear opinions respectfully?
I think it's quite amazing. I think people arrive and they feel like uncomfortable. I see people they don't normally see, and how's this going to work? And then suddenly, 20 minutes later, they see, okay, well, they do what they want to do. I'll do what they want to do. I'll discuss, they might have questions for me. I'll have questions for them. We might argue about it, but we'll respect each other. And actually we can end up and we can leave as friends. And I think that's, it's the most unbelievable feeling to see how we bridge divides.
I'm fascinated, Kim, I don't know if you can talk to this, have we become more tolerant because we're growing up a bit, or have we become less tolerant because as a Jewish community we are under attack and therefore almost put up the walls that, you don't listen to us, we're not listening to you? How are you finding it at the moment?
It's a very interesting question, and I think very relevant to today. I don't think it's unique to the Jewish community. I think as you look globally, it feels like we're so polarized. It feels like we can't speak to each other, right? For me, in my life, Limmud is the only place where I feel free to authentically have my own voice. The rest of the time, honestly, I'm scared to post certain things, to say the wrong thing. Who am I speaking to? How's it going to be taken? But with Limmud and the Limmud family, I feel like this is a safe space where no one's going to,
But you're actually
have a
allowed
hissy
to have
fit and go
yeah,
away. They're going
yes.
to actually talk to me about it, not to convince me, but
Yes.
to listen. It's amazing.
So it's almost as though, to some extent, real world polarization is suspended and left at the door, figuratively. And then people are allowed to come into a space where part of that deal is I'm going to hear other ideas. And I don't really have to, because I can choose a program that actually doesn't expose me to other things. But if I do, then that's the deal. Would you agree that that's the almost the unwritten rule?
That's the unwritten rule. I think when people arrive, the first year or so they go in their comfort zone, and as they become more confident, they will choose a session that might make them feel uncomfortable, and make them think and make them question and make them argue a little bit, which is good. And I think that's it's part of the ethos we try and create. I think one of the amazing things are, we have a panel where we put all our Israeli politicians from the far left to the far right on a panel together. Last year we had a Haaretz journalist with a leader of the settler movement.
That's incredible.
And they were able to, be respectful and able to have a conversation with each other. And, we actually reflected on it afterwards and said, you two guys, if you were in Israel, you would never be able to sit in the same room.
I would imagine that in Israel they couldn't do this.
And I think part of the internationals, their whole experience of 2 weeks in South Africa is actually a healing experience. And they grow closer to each other, and they are able to build relationships with people they would never talk to in the space, and they would see them as the enemy. And I think that's the magic of the Limmud environment, that we can bring people in. We've got somebody in the community, disgruntled, says, no one ever listens to me. He says, well, someone said to him, well, have you tried Limmud? He comes, says, no one's prepared. I said, come, join and see. We open to everybody, as long as two rules. And we're very values-based. We said, you can say whatever you like, as long as, number one, you're prepared to take questions, and number two, you're not going to heckle other people. So if you're prepared to be respectful and you'd be prepared to be questioned and be in a debate, you can say what you want, and people might not like it, but we'll be respectful and we'll argue about it, and that's okay. And that's what the space we're trying to create is.
So if we can just break it down, because there's obviously different elements of it. There's the religious stream, in terms of, I don't mean but those people that are interested in the Jewish studies area. Then I would imagine there's politics. I would imagine there's cultural. How do you go about? Are those the three main pillars?
So there's multiple tracks. The one we call Torah and text.
Okay.
And that's learning from Torah teachers, but often focusing on text. We talk history and politics, and that's from South Africa to Israel, etc. We have an Israel track and lots on Israel. We have a hell of a lot on the Holocaust, and I think Kim's mom's got a lot to do with that. We bring them.
I would imagine.
We bring the most unbelievable Holocaust scholars.
Right, that's amazing. That is
Holocaust
really amazing.
and really teach people and make people think. And then, we've got arts and culture, and we've got the most unbelievable people, writers, movie makers, performers coming through. And there's also there's certain entertainment and social activities to build cohesion between the people. What else have I forgotten?
Spirituality.
Oh, yes. Wellness and spirituality, yoga, meditation.
Yes.
Your soul, things for the soul.
Right.
And there's always something, in every hour there's always something for everybody.
So and in terms of people coming with younger kids, teenagers, how does that work? I don't know who wants to take that.
Sure. So we have a dedicated Young Limmud program. The same amount of energy and time that we spend on the so-called adult program.
Well, and that's the future of the...
Exactly.
That's the future, yeah.
And we already have some of the Young Limmud kids, well, they started out as kids 20 years ago and are now, joining as volunteers for the adult program. It's beautiful to see. And so they get their own program with dedicated people the whole weekend looking after them. And then there's also a teen Limmud program where we bring in various madrichim that come and create a special space where teens can have their voice as well.
Amazing. Really, really amazing. What about...
My favorite, I've got to tell you, my favorite thing for my first Limmud is I never saw my children. They were gone, and they were
you know that is now on record. Hey?
And they were well looked after.
The favorite thing about Limmud, yeah.
Never saw my children the whole weekend.
I can understand and relate to that. So Ronnie wants to know, does it ever get nasty between the polarized parties?
Look, so certain sessions we know might be explosive, and we make sure that the senior leader is there to moderate. We haven't had to eject anybody or have call in the CSO. Sometimes it gets heated, but heated is okay if it's respectful. If you deal with the issues, you don't deal with the people.
Mm-hmm.
The line is crossed when you say you're an idiot.
Right.
If you say what you're saying doesn't make sense,
or this is keep Twitter or X out of the
it's not a personal thing.
Mm.
Attack the idea. You're welcome to do that. Be passionate about it. But respect the people.
I'm curious if Limmud South Africa, given that we have such a unique approach in our community, I'm interested if Limmud South Africa is different to Limmud in other places. I know that there's a general style and ethos, but if there's an element here in South Africa that distinguishes it.
So, I attended Limmud UK a while ago. The one thing I can feel in South Africa is that when you arrive on Friday night and you don't know where to sit, people are going, well, I've got 2 seats at my table, come and sit with us. And I think that's the
South African.
That's the South African thing, and we try and create that ethos as well. Don't only have the people, if you've got 2 seats at your table, they shouldn't go empty. Find people who don't have anywhere else to sit, and you might end up being friends.
Yeah, amazing. We specifically haven't, and I don't know if you want to yet talk about who's coming, we can hold that, or you can talk specifics, or you can talk in general. What do we expect in terms of speakers?
Let's put it this way: we've got a filmmaker from the UK.
Yes.
He's created a Yiddish language horror film.
Yes, I wanted to ask you about that, because that could be scary in of itself, even without the horror element. That should be interesting.
So I think he's just unique, and he's got an interesting story and interesting perspective. We've also bringing, from the UK, from the Haredi community, a sexual abuse survivor.
Wow!
And she has now created an organization that advocates for the people who, have been abused, or, and explains what's going on, and that really there can be abuse inside our communities, and we need to fight against that. And she really stands for that, and she's unbelievable. And really, I've heard her in the UK, and she's, top notch and really amazing. We've got, on the rabbinic front, we've got an Orthodox rabbi who's female as well, which is an interesting concept.
Very.
And the jury's out, but she's an unbelievable teacher. And I've heard her lectures, and she's a real Torah scholar. We've got a conservative rabbi, a reform rabbi. We've got somebody who is unorthodox Judaism. He thinks completely differently and questions things. He's not a rabbi, but he's a Torah thinker who's very Jewish sources, but really out of the box and will challenge people. And that's just that track. And then you've got people from the Holocaust. I think we've got the person who's responsible for Jewish burial in Europe and in Poland, and for dealing with issues. He's going to talk about one session where how explain to Polish neighbors what it means to live next to a Jewish cemetery and the respect they need to show, and what does it mean to be next to a Jewish grave, and how they actually managed to create this understanding and appreciation, and that the neighbors want to look after the cemetery and don't want to, and, just interesting things like that.
Absolutely amazing. And we'll obviously over the next few weeks, we'll try and get, we will get a little bit more information about some of the speakers. Before we wrap up, because I think the important thing is that people need to start reserving, especially if they want to go for Shabbat, because I know that those rooms become very, very, very scarce, and that fills up quite quickly. Talk to me about that.
And this year, we unfortunately don't have as many rooms as we have had previously. So we are really, really pushing people who love Limmud and attend every year, book in. And if you haven't tried Limmud yet, give it a chance. We think that you would love it. So please book. Limmud.org.za. You can go there and book. You can also book for Cape Town or Durban. Maybe try a different city as well. But we're really, really pushing. Come and experience something really special and unique in South Africa.
And that is where we leave it. It is 8:57. I'm Howard Feldman. This is your Morning Mayhem. You know what to do. You know where to book. 061 895 1019.